See that there?
Yeah, that's all it takes, eh?
And what's your name?
Yeah, Andy.
Andy, and you are?
Yeah, Andy LeBlanc. Yeah.
And you are from, you used to be, work for...
Well, I used to work here in television, and...
Which station?
With CTV, yeah.
CTV?
Station, yeah.
Wow, how long ago was that?
That was in the 80s, yeah,
80s?
when I worked in Fredericton. Yeah.
And how long you been a journalist?
I've been a journalist for 30 years.
30 years, that's a long time.
It is a long time.
Andy, what is a journalist?
I think there's a big debate about what journalism is. And, you know, journalism, in my mind, is a journalist who follows a number of the principles of journalism to report stories, what is fact, what is going on, what people either know about or are hearing about or want to discuss or maybe should be discussing. So important issues, things that affect us.
What do you think of the Irving monopoly on newspapers in this province?
Well, you know what? I know that it exists. I know that monopolies have, in one hand, there's a business advantage to having a monopoly because you have that financial strength. You can sort of go far. There's a disadvantage in that if you're a monopoly and there isn't some other means where, you know, in the case of journalism, if there isn't another means of where journalists can participate or be involved or report, then that's a disadvantage, I think, overall to society because you want to have as many voices as possible.
Do you think journalists, while they're doing a story, should give their own private opinions in the story?
That's a big debate. You know, my sense of it is journalism has always had something called the editorial. And
yeah, the Irving's the boss.
Although, well, you know, there's the editorial papers,
yeah.
but there's a time when television had the editorials where, you know, well, Andy Rooney, you know, he's the guy who gets up and says, this is my opinion, and he spreads it out. And I don't see anything wrong with that if people know that it's an opinion.
Yes.
If people say, this is your opinion, this is my opinion, and it's reported as such. Now, of course, a lot of journalism doesn't report using an opinion, right? The general principle has been if you're reading the newspaper, the front page of the newspaper, or watching the first few stories in a television newscast, or listening to the first few stories in a radio newscast, that it's not involving opinion. Why that is, I think a lot of that is because of tradition. Traditional journalism has not been opinionated. It's been based on objectivity, it's been based on neutrality on stories, trying to get both sides of the story. Sometimes it's more than two sides.
But if a journalist, if a journalist has an opinion, what's his name? You would know. I've just got a flashback. Who was the guy that used to work in Moncton and he got elected MP? Used to work for ATV News.
Boy.
Remember? He had his opinion, his rant. Remember that?
I'm sorry. It's this.
20, 25 years ago, yeah, same here.
Years ago.
But he had an opinion, and people enjoyed it, and then they got elected MP. So wouldn't that favor them to be known and be elected officials if they were allowed to give their opinion?
Well, you know, journalists have opinions. Journalists are people, you know, no different than you or anybody else walking down the street. We're citizens who live here. We see what's happening. You know, we have an interest in what's going on around us, just like everyone else. The difference, I think, is that journalism, because of the traditions of journalism, and there's a lot of good reasons for them, has been based on neutrality. Now, there has always been the separate thing.
Hold it, this is good. Hold it, this is part one. Hold it.
Part one. Oh, you have to go to part two now?